reported on its front page that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are breaking Social Security. The story details all of the ways Republicans are making it harder for Americans to get the benefits they have earned, laying off customer service staff, closing field offices, and even disabling the agency's website. These are not accidental changes. Trump and Musk are breaking Social Security intentionally. Today, we will hear more about Trump, Musk, and House Republicans' extreme scheme to take Social Security away from the American people. And we will explore their motivation, stealing from seniors and people with disabilities to give trillions of dollars in tax breaks for Republican billionaire donors. This Republican scheme is not theoretical. As we speak, Trump and Musk are firing workers, closing offices, and making service cuts that are making it nearly impossible for seniors and Americans with disabilities to get their benefits. Democrats believe in common sense. You spend your life working and paying into Social Security, you have earned these benefits. Politicians should never be able to take away your hard-earned benefits, but that's exactly what Republicans are trying to do. Democrats are supporting litigation to protect Social Security, conducting oversight to extreme service cuts, and doing everything we can to oppose extreme Republican budget, which will undermine Americans' benefits. Our wonderful leader, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, is leading that fight, and I yield to him for his opening remarks. Leader?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Co-Chair Robin Kelly, for your leadership, along with Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Co-Chair Barragan as well. We appreciate you convening this incredibly important hearing on the protection of Social Security and the threats that are coming from Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and the extreme MAGA Republicans. Let me also acknowledge the leadership of the once and future chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, Richie Neal, and of course the extraordinary advocacy and leadership of Congressman John Larson for their relentless defense of Social Security. It's an honor to be here with many distinguished members of leadership, as well as the Ways and Means Committee. And of course, I want to thank Administrator O'Malley, Governor O'Malley, for your presence here today, for your extraordinary leadership in so many areas, but particularly the important voice that you have had all across the country sounding the alarm about the attacks that are ongoing against the Social Security Administration and this all-important earned benefit. Let me also acknowledge the presence of Ms. Kennard, Ms. Brown, and Mr. Glasgow for your testimony here today. Donald Trump and House Republicans are betraying America by trying to take a chainsaw to Social Security. Social Security is the largest anti-poverty program in America for older Americans and people with disabilities. It's an earned benefit that everyday Americans have paid into throughout their entire working life. It's not an entitlement. It's an earned benefit. You've earned it, worked hard for it, and deserve to make sure that your Social Security is intact so that older Americans can live a life with dignity and respect. But now the extremists are trying to destroy the Social Security Administration. They have fired thousands of employees, broken the agency's website, closed Social Security offices, and jeopardized the ability of seniors to get their hard-earned benefits. This is unacceptable, unconscionable, and un-American. And Democrats are going to do everything we can to protect the Social Security of the American people. Trump and House Republicans are scheming to slash Social Security, cut Medicaid and Medicare as we know it, undermine veterans' benefits, and take away food from children, all so that they can provide a massive tax cut to their billionaire donors like Elon Musk. It's a toxic scheme that must be stopped. They repeatedly lie about Social Security, calling it a Ponzi scheme. Social Security is not a Ponzi scheme. Project 2025 is a Ponzi scheme. And so we're going to continue as Democrats to show up and stand up and speak up for Social Security, for this earned benefit, and protect the livelihood of the American people. I yield back.
Well, thank you, and thank you. Thank you, and thank you, Hakeem Jeffries. Leadership is about meeting the moment. And Democrats, under the leadership of Hakeem Jeffries, are meeting the moment. Social Security is under attack. Let me repeat, it's under attack. Something Administrator and Governor O'Malley knows and has articulated across this nation as well. Something that Rich Neal, as chairman of the Ways and Means Committee and now as ranking member, understands as well. The goal here by the other side is to privatize, and they're clever. What they're doing is dismantling Social Security and Medicare from within. They have disdain for bureaucracy in general, but there's only one bureaucracy that has $2.7 trillion in it that they have their eyes on. That is the hard-earned, as Mr. Jeffries said, benefit that the American people have paid into. It's an earned benefit that they deserve, and Democrats, thanks to the visionary leadership of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, have made sure that this is the #1 anti-poverty program for the elderly and the #1 anti-poverty program for children. And that's why we're out to make sure that we protect this, as well as making sure as we're providing disability as well for the citizens. We will not allow this to be privatized, but we have to aggressively educate the American public. And I think this short film that we're about to show will do that. So let's take a look.
House Republicans want to take away Social Security benefits for 73 million Americans. They believe that seniors and people with disabilities don't deserve a modest benefit of less than $1,900 a month. They don't care that 40% of seniors have no income other than Social Security. They ignore that we've paid into the system, and it's our money they're taking away. They'd rather give the richest real estate moguls a big tax break to buy another home.
Leader, thanks to the Ways and Means Dems that are here as well. This is a clear fight for all members of the American family. Musk's crusade against Social Security, along with Trump, it's a five-alarm fire. After 90 years, we're still arguing about Social Security? Republicans have put us closer than ever to missed benefits where members of the cabinet say it's about fraud. It's about a Ponzi scheme. Ponzi schemes are illegal. They're illicit. They're unlawful. Republicans have relaunched a coordinated attack, and they've been peddling this argument for a long time. I remember the plan that they had to privatize Social Security back in 2006. The Social Security program in America was compared to the Social Security plan in Chile. And incidentally, the Chileans moved away from the private plan and back to a public plan because of the guarantee. The life cycle of Republican governing always goes like this: lament over fiscal responsibility, target essential services, cut taxes, make services hard to use, claim it's broken, justify the cuts, and then come back and give the money to billionaire friends with massive tax cuts. Republicans think that if they weaken Social Security, they can ramp up frustration over customer service, benefit interruptions, and ultimately wreck Social Security. Governor O'Malley is here, one of the most capable public officials I've known. He can confirm the number in a moment that I'm about to use. For all their talk about Social Security, I believe at the moment it has a $2.8 trillion surplus, $2.7 trillion surplus. Our Republican colleagues have refused to denounce Musk's attack on Social Security. Again, he called it a Ponzi scheme. He talks about fraud. There is nobody 300 years old receiving Social Security benefits. That argument was knocked down immediately. It was reckless and it was irresponsible. Yet, there's nobody on the Republican side who will critique what it is that they've said. The Commerce Secretary said seniors wouldn't call and complain if their monthly checks don't come. He never served in Congress, I'll tell you that. That's a call you get immediately. These billionaires are trying to run the country and take away one of the most dependable initiatives in the history of the world, Social Security. I know something about Social Security. We lived on survivor benefits, my sisters and I, with an aunt and a grandmother, and their Social Security. Families come in different shapes and sizes, but that's how we existed because of Social Security and the genius of Roosevelt's plan. But our coordinated outrage and our relentless pushback for the yes people that are running Social Security now, I think they're starting to realize the consequences of these actions, and they've delayed the devastating customer service changes that were supposed to take effect yesterday. Let me be clear. A delay is not a reprieve. Their plan is to make it hard to access it and then complain that it doesn't work. And that's always been part of their strategy. We've seen the playbook before. We've defeated them before. And we've, again, organized for the purpose of defeating them this time again. We need to keep organized, and we need to make sure that we defend one of the most important initiatives in the history of legislative life in America, the genius and guarantee of Social Security.
Thank you so much, Ranking Member Neal, for your leadership. And I want to thank Co-Chair Kelly and our colleagues on the Steering and Policy Committee for holding this important conversation. Our witness today is a public servant for more than 3 decades. Martin O'Malley served on the City Council, then as mayor of the City of Baltimore, before serving 2 terms as the governor of Maryland. Most recently, he served with distinction, as the leader mentioned, as a commissioner of the Social Security Administration, where he made sure that every one of the 70 million Americans who receive Social Security benefits had a direct line into the federal government. He oversaw more than 50,000 workers at the SSA's headquarters, 10 regional offices, and 1,200 field offices across this country. He made certain that Social Security Administration not only continued, but built upon its legacy of quality customer service. As a promise that America has upheld since Social Security was created by Congress in 1935 under the leadership of President Roosevelt, this promise went unbroken until Donald Trump and Elon Musk took a chainsaw to that legacy with plans for extreme cuts, office closures, and continued barriers to earn benefits. After 90 straight years of seniors, survivors, and people with disabilities being able to rely upon Social Security, extreme Republican attacks have upended the agency in just 2 months. And 2 people are to blame: the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the unelected billionaire Elon Musk, who calls Social Security a Ponzi scheme. Governor O'Malley knows exactly what it takes to protect and strengthen the Social Security Administration. Today, unfortunately, he will tell us exactly how Trump and Musk are breaking it down. Governor O'Malley, you're now recognized.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Co-Chair, and Leader Jeffries, thank you very, very much for pulling together this hearing and for focusing our attention on this very imminent threat to a program that has never missed a payment in 90 years. For 73 million Americans, half of all seniors who live alone, over 65, Social Security is the only thing that separates them from living in dignity or living and dying in poverty. For 73 million Americans, it's a lifeline, not only retirees, but also people who unfortunately have suffered a disability, can no longer work, and for a lot of kids who receive supplemental security income with severe disabilities. I had the honor, as you said, of leading these men and women, and I watched them rally at one of the most difficult times in the agency's history. And seeing the progress they made, I likened it to, they were sprinting up a downward moving escalator. And what was moving it downward at such an increased velocity was the greater numbers of people every single day that they were serving. Because of, dare I say here, this committee is much younger than me, due to baby boomers of my generation, the ranks of their beneficiary customers every single day was a new record high. And after 10 years of staffing reductions imposed by House Republicans, their staffing was at a 50-year low. This graph kind of sums it up to the men and women of the committee. You can see, and it was projected for many, many years, Social Security operates on a 75-year projection. All of those baby boomers were born post-World War II, and we knew they were coming. But even with seeing the growing numbers of beneficiaries, level funding for this agency over the last 10 years has meant that they have to let the grim reaper of attrition bring them to a balanced budget by the end of the year. And lest anybody look at that yawning gap and think, well, why don't they just make up for it with better IT? Well, that'd be a great idea, except they've had to postpone, push off for years and years IT modernization. It's not that they're dumb. It's not that they're stupid. It's not that they want old technology. It's that we have failed to invest in their ability to modernize their IT. From my knowledge of this agency, from what I've learned from these hardworking men and women, this chainsaw of the Musk-Trump co-presidency is gutting this agency. It is breaking it from within, and it ultimately will lead to cascading failures, interruptions, and system shutdowns that will eventually, and I think within the next couple of months, lead to benefit interruptions for the first time in 90 years. And the reason for this crisis is not a mystery. House Republicans have remained silent in the face of this looming threat. They're allowing this agency to be broken from within and allowing Donald Trump and Elon Musk to degrade customer service and drive experienced employees out. If you want to find waste at Social Security today, look at the cash payments of our money and beneficiaries' money in earning their benefits. Look at the cash that they are burning by paying experienced, if overworked men and women to leave the agency. Some of them they're paying for the entire year not to show up for work again. Don't let the door hit your backside on the way out, and no knowledge transfer, which is critically, which creates a critical situation, especially in IT, where so many are retirement eligible. In the Office of Benefit Information Systems, 40% of those employees are retirement eligible. And they have been dealing these last 2 years with a hostile work environment intentionally brought on by the Trump, Musk, Doge teams, and telling people if you don't take the cash to get out now, you take your chances walking the plank of further rifts and firings if you don't take the cash to get out now. What would you do if it was your family that was at risk from this threat? And it's not just a threat. In their first week with their new appointed acting commissioner, they brought in two of the highest performers of the agency. One was the head of the Office of Customer Service Transformation. The other, the head of the Office of Civil Rights and Equal Opportunity. Set them both down individually and said, you're being fired for cause. Tell everybody in your office they're being fired for cause too. Put your stuff in a cardboard box. This is your last day. They created a spectacle in the full parking lot at the end of that day with men and women who had given their lives to this mission, crying on each other's shoulders, saying goodbye to colleagues. That's the atmosphere that's been created at this agency. I truly believe that the Musk-Trump co-presidency has already taken 90% of the actions necessary to crater this agency. And this is the chronology that you will see unfolding in the weeks ahead. You've already seen it in the weeks behind. Largest number, greatest exodus in the agency that the agency's ever experienced over such a short period of time. I believe it's hard to get good numbers out of the agency anymore. It's kind of become the hermit kingdom. I believe they're probably at about 6,000, 7,000 people that have already separated, and I believe that they're going to drive out another 3,000 or 4,000. That's in an agency that was already at a 50-year low with customers at an all-time high. As they do that, you are then going to see intermittent interruptions of the applications that process the claims, not the green screen COBOL that has all of our earnings in it and the personal identifying information, but the applications that sit on top of that, you're going to see them go down. In fact, I think today they were down for 3 hours. They are going to happen more frequently, and then in the weeks ahead, you're going to see them lasting a longer period of time. Instead of just down for 3 hours, you'll see them getting to 3 days. Ultimately, the combination of those things will see this agency head into a cascading event when that will ultimately interrupt the payment of benefits for some time. I don't know what that period of time will be, but knowing what I know about the agency, that batch goes through in various segments every month for pay, and I truly believe that for the first time in 90 years, those benefits are going to be interrupted for some time. I don't know how long. The goal, of course, in all of this, I've come to believe, it's not mere arrogance. Could be ideology. But it would appear that what they're trying to do is crater this agency and kneecap its ability to serve the public. They have to do that because 80% of Americans believe that Social Security should be strengthened and made better. So they can't really rob it until they wreck it and sour enough of the public against it. So you see a common thread going through a lot of their changes. Oh, no longer can seniors who have a hard time getting to a field office, no longer can they get their business done on the phone. We're policing fraud, so no longer can they do it by the phone. They have to go to a field office. The enumeration beyond entry, which actually was going on during the first Trump administration, the automation when USCIS sends to Social Security, people who are immigrating lawfully and says, send them a Social Security card for work purposes. Oh, you can no longer do that? There might be fraud. You know, it's all part of a blue conspiracy to give immigrants the right to vote. So they make them go to a field office. I could go through other ones, but it seems that what they're trying to do, even as they threaten to close offices, is to jam them up and give people the worst possible experience they can have. So then after wrecking it, they can rob it. What they want to do with the $2.7 trillion, I cannot tell you. You all have your theories. But I can see that they're trying to wreck this agency. And the people of the United States who earn this benefit need to stand up right now. I truly believe only an aroused democracy can stop them from doing what they're already 90% of the way to doing. And it's my great hope that because of this hearing, because of the laser focus, because Leader Jeffries, of you and your colleagues raising the alarm, that maybe we can even persuade some reasonable Republicans to lend their voice to the cause of securing Social Security for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor O'Malley, for sharing your expertise with us today, and thank you for your leadership and the work that you've done, and to all of the men and women of the Social Security Administration for the work you do on behalf of all of our constituents. I want to thank our leader, the co-chairs, for the leadership of doing these hearings. The Republicans refuse to talk about the issues, and it's important that we do. Governor O'Malley, Elon Musk continues to falsely claim that there is widespread Social Security fraud and uses his misinformation to justify drastic cuts that make it harder for seniors to access their earned benefits. What are the facts about Social Security fraud? Is Elon Musk actually doing anything to combat fraud in any meaningful way?
No, I have not seen it yet. I've seen a lot of waste, and it's being committed, as I said before, giving our cash to people to quit the agency. And let's talk a little bit about the fraud. It is a large agency, 73 million payments, and we had functions to police against fraud. One of them, Donald Trump decapitated on the second day in office by eliminating the head of the Office of Inspector General. The internal inspections unit, separate from the other, aspects of Social Security, was called OARO. OARO. It stands for Analytics, Review, and Oversight. And that division's job was to police against improper payments, whether fraud or errors of the agency. That division, in which the current puppet commissioner used to serve, was dismantled by him in his first week on the job. Tore it apart like the flying monkeys tore apart the scarecrow. Sent one piece here, another piece there, so that was eliminated. Prior to the elimination of the OIG and OARO, report after report said that we had a error rate, improper rate, of below 1%. Sometimes it was 98.7%. A lot of that, though, was not fraud. That was errors on our part, leading causes being that people retire at 62 and they continue to work and their earnings estimate was off, or people on SSI working a second job to make ends meet, underpaid, overpaid. So the fraud is actually pretty small, although it's a big agency. So you have to constantly police against it. The big lies that were spewed out once they took away the agency's ability to police against us, the first one was the zombie apocalypse with all the millions of people with checks streaming out of their cadaverous pockets walking the planet Earth. That is not true. Not true at all. In audits or studies that have been done, I think what the Inspector General found in 1 year was 800 people that got checks beyond their deceased date, and usually we catch up with that in a couple months. The other big lie that was told the other day on Fox News, where the brave Elon Musk is the only network apparently that he's able to go on, he said that 40% of all of the calls coming into the 1-800 number are fraudsters who steal your direct deposit checks all day long and nobody stops them. The truth is, only 1 out of 3,100 calls to the 800 number is fraud. We thwart 4 more for every one that gets through, and they could thwart even a higher number than that if they'd implement the synthetic voice recognition and the automatic robocall recognition that we had teed up for them, but for some reason they haven't done. The third big lie came over the weekend, not coincidentally in Wisconsin, one of those swing states that they pounded with the big lie during the campaign that illegal immigrants steal your Social Security benefits and are going to bankrupt the system, when the truth is, people working here outside of legal status, illegal immigrants so-called, are prohibited by law from receiving any Social Security benefits, although they pay in $22 billion for the rest of us. And in this big thing where they walked and strutted around a giant American flag doing their best George Patton imitation, though I don't know that either of them ever served, they then had a graph that showed the number of immigrants coming into America over the last few years, pointed to a spike and said, aha, this is what we've found. All of these people got Social Security numbers. And their handpicked audience gasped. They discovered it. And they said this was all part of a blue state plan to give illegal immigrants the right to vote so that and he said this, so that we'll never be able to, a blue state in perpetuity from which none of us will ever be able to escape. And they said that, and all of these people, all of these millions, it's like 3 million, who they insinuated strongly were illegally here. They said they were all given Social Security numbers, and in the computer system, they were all marked. Maximum benefits, maximum inclusion. There is no automatic button in any system of Social Security that is maximum benefit automatic button or maximum inclusion automatic button. But the audience loved it. And in fact, what they were pointing at were people who emigrated here and were in legal status, and United States Customs and Immigration Service, ever since Trump's first term, would electronically notify Social Security, send these people who are here legally and allowed to work a Social Security card at this address. That was that big lie. So it seems like there's a new one coming out every 2 weeks, and they're getting better at the high production. And so we really have to be rapid in our response to these big lies, because it's not only in crowding up the field offices. By the way, some of the strides we made in improving customer service, like the ALJ hearings, were the best in 30 years. The percentage of people effectuated into retirement, best in 10 years. All of those are skyrocketing and going the opposite direction now. Right. But it's not just degrading the customer service and jamming people into field offices. It's these constant attacks and lies on the agency, mocking it and deriding it.
So let's touch on that. The administration, their actions under Elon Musk and the Doge Bros have affected the agency's ability to operate. The website has crashed multiple times. Staff shortages have reached crisis levels, and dozens of field offices are closing, including one in Las Vegas on Bridger Avenue, the closest option for many of my constituents. Now, each one of us has a story of constituents who are trying to get access to their earned benefit, and I don't blame them because they've earned it. So, Governor O'Malley, what do these issues mean for the future viability of the Social Security Administration?
These are all self-inflicted wounds. Well, I say self-inflicted, but Elon Musk really doesn't need his Social Security check like people that live on it do. But these wounds are self-inflicted. This agency, when it operated at a high level of customer service, had an overhead of 1.2%, far better than any private insurance company. So these wounds are self-inflicted. This agency should be able to function for another 90 years because it is a pay-as-you-go system. Americans who worked last year paid in $1.3 billion, and we paid out to people in beneficiary status $1.4 billion. Where did the $1.3 trillion was paid in, $1.4 trillion was paid out, and the difference was taken from that $2.7 trillion surplus intentionally built up by your predecessors in the Congress to cover the lifespan of the baby boomers. So the long-term viability of this agency should not be in question. It's only in question now because of the chainsaw that is gutting this agency and destroying its ability to function as designed.
Governor, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful to you. You're really such a talented guy. We're fortunate that you've served in this position and know so much and have done such a good job. I've been trying to raise some concerns I have about people that are working for Elon Musk on the Doge group of these young guys that are computer hackers and gamers, and they have access to people's personal information. So most times in government, you see people go through Senate hearings or people go through background checks or security clearances, and we don't really know what these guys have gone through as far as their background checks. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know what their computer strokes they're doing. We don't know what they're leaving behind. I'm going to remember what you said here today. They want to wreck it before they rob it. I mean, that's really a big concern we all have. But I'm really concerned about the access they have to people's personal information, confidential information. Could you tell us, there have been lawsuits filed about this. Many people think it's illegal. Can you tell us about people's personal information and about the security and the importance of having that information kept confidential?
Yes, sir. I'll do my best. One of the things I learned about the culture of that agency is that those men and women would fall on their sword to protect the personal identifying information of beneficiaries and citizens in that database. It is something drilled into them from their first days of training at the agency. There are various levels of access to information that's granted depending on your function in the agency. If you don't have a business purpose, say processing a disability claim or something else, there's certain parameters about what you're allowed to go rummage through. According to an affidavit filed, an affidavit that was filed related to the forced resignation, I guess we'll say, of their first acting commissioner, career civil servant, Michelle King, her deputy, Tiffany Flick, said that the reason things came to a head with the Doge team was that the person that was put there either by the current Social Security Commissioner, or by Doge and Elon Musk, or perhaps it was a joint appointment, that he demanded that Michelle King give to the Doge team total, unfettered, broad access to all of our personal identifying information, and they even asked for the source codes, and they wanted it urgently. How urgently? Like yesterday urgently. When Michelle King wouldn't give it to him, they said, then you're going to be replaced. She said, according to the affidavit, that she was resigning rather than violate, the privacy and the security. What concerns me, and one of the other things she said in the affidavit, this was her deputy, Tiffany Flick. She said she was concerned that the information would be exposed and would not be safeguarded. And she was concerned that it might fall into the hands of bad actors, a term we typically reserve for foreign adversaries. So the people that are in that database would be people with new identities. Why do you need a new identity? Why do you need a new Social Security number? Well, maybe you cooperated with the FBI to bring down the mob. Maybe you cooperated with American forces in Iraq and helped bring down ISIS, and you need a new identity. People that cooperated in Afghanistan. People who perhaps defected from Russia or from communist China and had been found to have been aiding our government. That's what concerns me.
It's really scary. I mean, if you think about it, it's not only access to people's personal information, their bank accounts, everyday Americans, but it's some of these very serious cases that you're talking about. One of the charts that you put up earlier was about the number of employees that work at the Social Security Administration. And there's been a concern for a long time that there's been inadequate staffing at the agency. And now we're going to see these layoffs. And as you pointed out, the employees are less than half of a tenth of a percent. The number they're firing, that 7,000 people, we hear that number over and over again, is less than a half of a tenth of a percent of the overall budget.
Right.
Most of the budget is the benefits that you distribute. And we already hear about wait times and things like that. And I have people calling my office like crazy, not just people who are afraid of what's going to happen, but my number of cases of people who are actually having a problem because they can't get through, or they can't get a form filled out, or they can't get their benefits have tripled over the past couple of weeks. Can you tell us about how these reduced workforce will affect the agency?
I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding of other members who are seeing the same thing, of people calling. It's a shame. Last year we were able to bring down a lot of those wait times. Now they're all skyrocketing. Let me show you. Can I show you just one example? Can you put up that first map? These are the ALJ hearings by ALJ districts. Our goal was to get it down to 270. Hadn't been 270 days, time to decision, in 25 years. But we worked at it. Every 2 weeks we worked at it. And those are kind of the catchment area of the offices. By the end of the year, next slide, that's what they were able to get it down to. So this is an agency that operates on less than 1%, even though it's the largest adjudicatory body in the free world. They're running up a downward moving escalator because of all of the new beneficiaries. And with the additional reductions, I think they're going to get to 10,000 people leaving the agency, because the other piece is, as the workloads go up, the demoralization becomes deeper and people burn out and leave, even though some of them refuse to take the cash out of principle and believe in the mission. So you're talking about taking roughly 53,000 people down to 46, 44,000. It's going to mean that if you go to a field office, you're going to see a heck of a lot more empty, closed windows than you see people at the windows. It means that if you worked all your life and you finally hit 67 and want to apply for benefits, it's no longer going to take you the 2 weeks that it did, that they got it down to last year. It's going to take you many more weeks than that. And if you, God forbid, are suffering from a disability, already more people die waiting for an initial disability determination than ever before in the history of the program since Dwight Eisenhower signed it into law. So there's going to be a lot more people dying waiting for their initial disability determinations, because those state offices funded by Social Security are also going to be seeing high levels of attrition and cuts. Can't recall now whether they were paid cash to leave. My guess is they weren't. That's probably just the people, the people that make the systems go and process the claims. All of those wait times are already skyrocketing, and you're going to see it get worse. The other thing that's going to get worse is improper payments, because when you have huge workloads and fewer people and less time to catch, to check up on them, you're also going to see the time it takes to catch an improper overpayment is going to take a lot longer. So when Mrs. Kaczynski gets the scary letter saying you need to repay this, it's going to be a much higher dollar amount. And their acting commissioner did away with a new policy that we had put in place last year at your urging to no longer intercept 100% of a beneficiary's check when they don't wait for 2 hours on the phone to work out a payment plan. They went back to intercepting 100% of it. And so you're going to find a lot more people with those scary letters also going to field offices, because they'll be freaked sitting on hold for 3 hours that it's going to take them months and months more before their check is turned back on. Again, it's all about destroying customer service. They need to turn the public against the agency by destroying customer service, and then having wrecked it, they'll have more leeway to rob it or to liquidate it.
All right, Governor, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Governor O'Malley. And, before I ask you some questions, I just want to...
Gwen.
Yes, ma'am.
Could I just stop you for just for the sake of time, just our questioners and our guests? I know we started a little bit late, but we just want to try to catch up a little bit, because we know members have other things and our guests may have other places to be too. So
I have a town
just
hall.
being considerate. Okay, sorry.
I just want to thank you, because you did bring those wait times down, and I will hasten to answer my questions. You talked about how Musk is closing field offices and laying off workers who answer the phone. And even they say they have delayed requiring identity verification by phone, and soon they're going to force you to come to the field office. And this doesn't make any sense to me, and it seems like a recipe for disaster. So can you explain how this double whammy will, what chaos it will cause, and how the shrunken agency will cope? How can they cope with this?
Yeah, it's exactly the opposite of where this agency was given a vision by Acting Commissioner Carolyn Colvin, in 2011. And the goal was to make it easier for people to do business with the agency without having to come in to a field office. So we developed a number of things so that people could go online, so we could do identity verification online, so that people could get their business done over the phone. What's happened now over the last 60 days is exactly the opposite of that. They are pouring kerosene on attrition, and they are reducing services provided online or over the phone so they can drive more people to crowded field offices, which they're also planning to reduce.
Governor, you mentioned that Elon Musk has eliminated multiple programs within the agency, including the Office of Civil Rights and Equal Opportunity, Office of Transformation and Retirement and Disability Research Consortium. How will this directly affect individuals who receive Social Security benefits?
Yeah, let me talk about, you mentioned the Research Consortium, that this agency is supposed to provide equal services and equal benefits, equal access all across the country, regardless of race, class, place. Part of what that Research Consortium does is they They are paid to research issues like that, but also things like sickle cell. Did we get sickle cell right, or did we get it wrong? Is there more scientific and a better read to take on that so we're not denying kids with sickle cell benefits that they deserve? So that's the research consortium. In terms of the Office of Civil Rights, they've created a hostile work environment, and that's the office that you would go to complain about a hostile work environment. But let me focus on the Office of Transformation. Perhaps they saw the word trans in it, and that's why they decided to fire it. But we should have called it the office, they should have called it predated my time there. It's called the Office of Customer Service Transformation. One of the most talented people in the agency, Eric Powers, he had a group of about 70 men and women, the best and the brightest from the agency, and their purpose was to make it easier rather than harder for people to do business, to be able to provide more services online, not fewer, to be able to have an intuitive website that people could make it through and not one that's clunky and looks like it was put together on the fly 20 years ago. So the elimination of that office, shortly after they eliminated the office, they called him and they fired him for cause. Part of that was to send a message that they can fire anybody illegally that they want. There was no cause. There was no cause. He was one of the best people in the agency. They wanted to send that chilling effect. And shortly thereafter, that weekend, they started experiencing problems with the website going down. And then they realized the people in that office were the ones responsible for keeping the website up. So these are the cascading, the interruptions, the customer service delays that are going to affect people and ultimately result in an interruption of benefits, which for some could be personally catastrophic if they're living on the edge.
Governor O'Malley, first, thank you for being here and sharing your perspectives with us, and thank you for your leadership. Your leadership shows us how Social Security can be improved and strengthened, and so we appreciate that. I also want to take a moment to thank all the good people who worked with you at Social Security during your time there. People who, as you have described, took their jobs very seriously and understood that the work they were doing on behalf of the American people was truly a sacred trust. Sadly, Donald Trump and Elon Musk are not trying to build up the Social Security Administration. They're actually trying to break it, as you noted. That has profoundly serious consequences for all Americans. After all, Social Security benefits Americans at every stage of life. More than 5 million kids and widows who receive survivors' benefits rely on Social Security. More than 8 million people with disabilities rely on Social Security. And well over half of our nation's seniors rely on Social Security as their main source of income. House Democrats are listening to the American people, and they're telling us that they count on Social Security. So what I'd like to do is hear from some of those people right now, if we can cue a video.
I have been paying into Social Security since I was 16 years old.
I worked for over 50 years in the manufacturing industry.
I started working at the age of 15.
38 years for 2 Fortune 50 companies.
Years in the service, Navy.
The 911 emergency police dispatcher.
A school librarian.
We worked very hard our whole life.
Social Security presently represents about 1/3 of my income, about half of my disposable income.
And I live almost entirely on Social Security benefits.
We basically have to live off of that.
Without Social Security, millions of seniors would be poverty-stricken.
It helps pay the bills.
The mortgage, our light and gas bill, water bill, and food.
Me and my husband would be devastated to lose it.
Without Social Security benefits, my disabled daughter will have no access to housing or resources to meet her basic needs.
I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Loss of benefits will have a direct and daily effect on me and my family as we navigate the medical needs we will be facing.
To say we are more than concerned, I'd say we are a bit terrified.
It's been very unsettling to try and figure this out.
I'm concerned about what's happening with DOGE and the massive cuts to Social Security.
The thought of delaying payments or making errors is stealing from the people.
We paid in for it. This is our funds and our money, and we deserve it.
Please, don't let them take our monies. I paid into this since I was 16 and now 73.
More than 30 years I worked for that.
It means the world to me.
For young people with disabilities like my sons.
For millions of seniors who worked our whole lives and paid into this.
Don't touch Social Security.
Democrats are fighting for the American people. We're fighting for the people whose stories you've just heard, and for those you'll hear from today, who are just here to fight back also. Social Security is a promise to millions of Americans, to children who lose a parent, to workers who lose a spouse, to people with disabilities, and to seniors who want to retire with dignity. But Elon Musk and Donald Trump are breaking that promise by firing customer service workers, closing field offices, and cutting critical services that are breaking the agency. And that hurts real people. People like Sue Kennard. Sue is a retired public health nurse who has traveled from Wisconsin to share her story with us today. Sue, thank you so much for being here. You are now recognized.
Good afternoon. My name is Sue Kennard. I am a proud retiree member of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME, and a La Crosse, Wisconsin resident. I am here today to make it clear that the earned benefits of Social Security must be preserved and protected from the radical attacks and misinformation we are seeing from the administration. Social Security has been a life-changing program for me and my family for much of my life. When I was 3 years old, my father passed away. For the next 15 years, Social Security survivor benefits allowed my family to survive and allowed me to stay in school and pursue a career as public health nurse. We were fortunate that my mother worked at home as a seamstress, but we would never have been able to stay in our home and make ends meet through her income alone, without the Social Security income we received from when I was in grade school through when I was in high school. During my years as a public health nurse, I saw firsthand how Social Security supported patients and their families in the most stressful times of their lives. I vividly recall doing home care work for an older woman who lived in a rural home and depended on Social Security and Medicare to stay in her home and not have to go into a nursing home. She had an above-the-knee amputation and learned to walk on crutches in her 70s because it was important to her to be able to live in her home independently. Without Social Security, I would not have been able to support her living at home with dignity and keep her out of a nursing home. Following the unexpected passing of my husband, again, Social Security survivor benefits allowed me to make ends meet, stay in my home, and purchase groceries. The survivor benefits were essential for making the day-to-day payments we needed, such as paying the mortgage and making repairs around the house, but importantly allowed me to continue affording health insurance coverage. Without my survivor benefits and the passage of the Affordable Care Act, I would have struggled to continue to serve my patients and community. Today, in retirement, Social Security retirement benefits allow me to age with dignity. I earned those benefits as a result of my years' employment serving my community as a public health nurse. As my own life shows, Social Security is one of America's most successful programs and widely supported that promises Americans support in retiring with dignity. Despite the value, importance, and efficiency of Social Security to Americans, Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, has spread misinformation about Social Security and put the program at risk for millions of Americans who depend on receiving their earned benefits each month. In the past weeks, Elon Musk and the Trump administration have created chaos and confusion for people like me who count on Social Security, even going so far as to threaten to shut down the Social Security Administration altogether. The administration has made irresponsible staff reductions, threatened to close field offices and reduce telephone services, and brought back cruel overpayment policies that threaten the futures of millions of retirees, seniors, and people with disabilities, the futures of people like me. We must protect the Social Security programs that were promised to be there for workers when they retire. The Elon Musk Doge team and the Trump administration have produced zero evidence of fraud while undermining a program 69 million Americans rely on. It is essential that we defeat these dangerous plans and reinforce Social Security for future generations. I want to thank the Democratic Steering and Policy Committee for hosting this important conversation and for your work to support Social Security beneficiaries and their families.
Thank you, Sue. Our next witness is Judith Brown from Charlotte, North Carolina. For 20 years, Judith worked hard, played by the rules, and paid her taxes. She contributed to Social Security with the expectation that it would be there for her. After 20 years of hard work, her health took a turn. She had to leave the workforce. Because of Social Security, Judith was able to get modest benefits to help make ends meet. Her story is one of many. Some 7 million Americans receive disability benefits after working hard for years before an accident, a medical event, or some other catastrophe. Social Security is a vital lifeline for people with disabilities. And the Trump-Musk cuts to Social Security are falling disproportionately on people with disabilities who may need extra support with their benefits. One of the proposed cuts is to shut down the Saginaw, Michigan field office in the heart of my district. This would create barriers for my constituents, as the in-person assistance is especially helpful for residents who are elderly or disabled, and driving to the next closest office is simply not an option. The stories of Americans with disabilities must be heard. Judith, thank you for being with us today. You are recognized.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Judith Brown, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was 17 when I started working, and I worked for 20 years as an administrator until I had to leave the workforce at age 37 due to disability. It took 2 years to get Social Security disability. Those years were incredibly difficult. My Social Security check is very modest, and I just looked at it at only $1,513 a month. But it is a lifeline that has kept me and my family out of homeless shelters for 20 years. No one thinks that they are going to be the ones who will need this lifeline until they have an accident or a medical event. I know many people who were working and then they became disabled. All of a sudden they were homeless, waiting to get approved for benefits. Without Social Security and the Medicare that comes with it, I wouldn't be able to see my specialists, get the eye care that I need, or meet any of my other needs. I am also the mother of 2 sons who are on the autism spectrum. They were young, 4 and 7.5, when I had to leave the workforce due to my disabilities. Without Social Security, I could not have been able to take care of them, get them the care they needed to become independent young men. My oldest son receives $963 a month on SSI. My youngest used to receive SSI as well, but came off of it when he was 19. He now works as an artist and in retail. He lives with 2 roommates, and it isn't always easy, but he is proud to support himself. Most people that I know that are on SSI or Social Security disability, including myself, would like to work. But it is very difficult to find jobs that can accommodate our disabilities. It is also scary to risk losing eligibility for our benefits and the health care that comes with it. I did once get a good remote job in 2010, but after 45 days, we were all laid off. It took a long time to get my Social Security back. Now I hear that Elon Musk and Donald Trump want to close Social Security field offices, lay off thousands of workers, and limit what people are allowed to do over the phone. As a person with mobility and vision impairments, this is outrageous. I need to be able to access my Social Security in the way that works for me. People with vision and mobility issues just can't drive hundreds of miles to spend hours waiting in line in an overcrowded field office. The chaos that Musk and Trump are causing is incredibly stressful and confusing for people around the country who rely on Social Security. The Musk-Trump plan for Social Security is slash and crash. It would destroy the services that families like mine rely on. Our entire existence is on the line. Please fight to protect Social Security for seniors like myself and for young people with disabilities like my sons. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. As Sue and Judith have shared, Social Security benefits are vital help to people from all walks of life to make ends meet. And behind the 70 million Americans who count on Social Security are the frontline workers who process checks, resolve issues, and ensure the benefits are delivered in full and on time. Workers like Rennie Glasgow, who works at the Social Security Administration in Schenectady, New York. Rennie has seen firsthand how Elon Musk DOGE cuts have harmed Social Security services. Cuts that have broken the website and made reaching someone on the phone nearly impossible. Cuts that are making it harder for seniors and people with disabilities to get the benefits they have earned. Rennie, thank you for your service and for being here today. You are recognized.
Thank you. Good afternoon, distinguished members of the committee. My name is Rennie Glasgow. I've devoted 15 years of my career to helping people access the benefits they have earned through Social Security Administration at the Schenectady Social Security office in New York. I began my career as a claims specialist and have advanced to become a claims technical expert, handling the most complex cases every day. And each day, I assist members of my community, seniors, disabled individuals, and survivors who depend on these benefits for their livelihood. I'm proud of my work, ensuring people achieve the benefits, receive the benefits to which they are entitled. I'm a proud federal employee and a proud member of this AFGE. Today I appear before you as an AFG member because Social Security is being deliberately sabotaged. Our Schenectady office has recently lost 7 employees through the DOGE illegal firing. This represents a devastating sabotage of institutional knowledge and experience. It takes a minimum of 2 years for an individual, an employee, to fully be trained in our programs and to essentially get out there and assist individuals with maneuvering and understanding their benefits. For the public, the consequences of this sabotage are severe. Think of a grandmother. Saratoga Springs, she's about 45 minutes away. She now faces waiting times on the phone of over 3 hours to get an answer or more. And then when she cannot get past the identifying questions on the phone, she has to trek down to the office where she may have to spend the entire day just to get a simple question answered or simple direct deposit changed. Service delivery has become extremely challenging. Americans will struggle to access their earned benefits. This is another form of sabotage against vulnerable citizens. Social Security has been at an all-time low in staffing. And while the public suffers from inadequate service, 7 of my dedicated colleagues will now worry of how they will provide for their families. Recent changes to our operational procedures have created even more obstacles for the public to access benefits. For example, the implementation of a 2-step identification process, which means individuals who experience issues logging on to their online account will have to now travel to an office to verify identity in person. This single policy alone will result in 75,000 to 80,000 more in-person visits to our already overwhelmed Social Security offices in a week. Additionally, modifications to claims and Social Security card enumeration process, which was mentioned earlier by Governor O'Malley, will force even more people to visit our field offices in person. While more services will require going into an office, these offices are being closed in communities across the country. In New York, offices in White Plains and Poughkeepsie are targeted for closure, which will force seniors and disabled individuals to travel long distances to get to offices. Offices that are not prepared to meet this extra demand because they're already short-staffed. A critical policy change that just went into effect. The Social Security Administration will now take 100% of someone's retirement or disability benefits for an overpayment. My dear friend here, if she goes to work, gets a job, and she earns over the SGA limit, she could be overpaid. And she would lose her benefit for a month, or 2, or 3, because of this new measure that's been put in place. Prior to that, we had a wonderful system that worked well. You call in and you set up an agreement and you pay 10% of your check. You get a check, you are servicing the overpayment. No, that's too easy. This policy shift will also severely increase workload at field offices. This change will trigger a flood of phone calls to our offices. This change will also mean that the individuals, they lose their 1-month check, then they will come into the office, they will file a request for a waiver that has to go through another 120-day process. They have to file a request for reconsideration, and then they have to file a hearing, another almost a year before they get a result on that measure. As though we do not have enough to deal with daily, we are met with emails labeled the fork in the road, or 5 bullet points of what you did last week. Our activities are tracked as soon as you log on with your PIN. Every keystroke is tracked. Our work is being reviewed weekly, daily, monthly. We do not have claims go out or get into production without them being reviewed by either someone like me, a technical expert, or a supervisor, someone who understands the processing and have been doing it for years. These obstacles will prevent people, your constituents, who have worked hard and paid into the system from getting their Social Security benefits and getting it timely. Americans deserve better than to have their earned benefits placed out of the reach due to deliberate sabotage of the system. Americans deserve to enjoy a benefit that was established by this House for the people that have worked very hard and paid in to this system. I want to thank you for the opportunity for letting me speak today. I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Glasgow. Thank you. Over here. I really am moved by your work and your testimony, and I do want to direct my first question to you. Elon Musk, who's directing cuts to Social Security, recently called Social Security the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. You work directly with people receiving Social Security every day. Do those beneficiaries think Social Security is a Ponzi scheme?
Not a single individual that receives Social Security benefit subscribes to those terms. As a matter of fact, I have been holding rallies in front of our Social Security offices in upstate New York. I had the privilege of having our Congressman Tonko join me in one of our rallies a few weeks ago. Thank you, Congressman. And what we have continued to highlight is Social Security is not a Ponzi scheme. It appears as though there are individuals that would like to make this into a Ponzi scheme so they can benefit in a sinister way.
Thank you for that. Ms. Brown, thank you for sharing your story with us. You mentioned your concerns about field offices closing and phone service being limited. Can you tell us more about your concerns with being unable to access help with your Social Security benefits?
Yes. So for 20 years, if I needed any assistance, I could call that phone number. And there would be someone on the other end that could help me. I could verify everything. There was a series of questions to verify my identity, and then they would be able to help me with my case. I would only have to go to a field office if there were other changes I was making, and the nearest field office to me is at least 30 minutes away. I do not know which offices are slated, but it will then require me to have someone drive me to those further offices. I would not be able to do it. I wouldn't even be able to afford a lift to take me 30 plus hours away.
Thank you, Judith. As we've discussed, Social Security isn't just for seniors and people with disabilities. Survivors' benefits are essential lifelines for people who lose a parent or a spouse. In my district, California's 29th district, there are nearly 96,000 Social Security recipients. Sue, can you share how your life would have been different had you and your family not been able to get Social Security benefits after you experienced tremendous loss?
I can. As I said, my father died when I was 3 years old. Without the Social Security benefits that my mother and I got, we would not have been able to stay in our rented apartment. We would not have been able to afford food. And truthfully, I would not be who I am and where I am now. Having those benefits allowed me to concentrate on my schoolwork through high school, and doing that, get the grades that I needed to go into college and get scholarships and grants to take me through college so that I could earn my bachelor's degree in nursing and go on to be a person in the career that I had said I wanted to be, a nurse, before my dad died. I would not have ever been able to be a public health nurse, which was almost a dream come true. Again, when my husband died, I got benefits which allowed me to stay in my home, allowed me to pay the mortgage and utilities, and to put food on the table. Without them, I would not have been able to do what I am now.
Thank you for sharing. Rennie, people like Sue rely on these benefits. Is it possible that the cuts Elon Musk is pushing are going to force Social Security field offices like yours to literally turn away people who need help getting the benefits that they have earned?
Eventually, we may have to. If you think about it, yesterday and today, we have had record numbers of people visited our office. I've communicated with my colleagues earlier. And in addition to that, for about 2 to 3 hours, the system went down. So we have individuals waiting from 9 o'clock in the morning, and at 10 or 11 o'clock, they're told, our system is down, we can't help you today. It is already happening. We don't know why they're there. It is a real bad system that is being set up. All these different mechanisms, like Governor Malley stated, is a mechanism to ensure that this system crashes and burns.
I want to thank our witnesses for being here today. You know, behind all the numbers are real people, people like you all, who have really sacrificed either yourself when you work there or you receive the benefits. And I know it's hard. And I know it's particularly hard given the price of gas and food and everything that's rising. And for so many people that I represent in Alabama's 7th District, Social Security is their only form of retirement. And in this great country of ours, no one should go without having dignity in their elderly years, especially since it's not an entitlement, it's an earned benefit. Sue, after working as a public health nurse and paying into the Social Security, you have rightfully earned your retirement. What are your concerns about DOGE at Social Security Administration and their impact to your financial security?
We're hearing that Elon Musk wants access to our data, to our personal data. We all know that our Social Security numbers are used as a security question for a lot of things.
And these are unelected,
unaccountable.
Yes.
Unaccountable people who have been put into the system. And one of my sons has worked in IT for a number of years. My grandson is currently going to school for cybersecurity. I've been drilled in the security issues that there are. But even more of a concern is, fine, they get access to our data, then what?
What are they using it for?
What are they using it for? Not only what are they using it for, but what are they going to go after next? Where are they going to go? What else are they going to take away from us?
Well, I want to thank you again for being a part of this great hearing. Judith, I'm going to save a last question for you. Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, recently claimed that only fraudsters complain about missing a Social Security check. How would you and your family survive if you missed a check? And what would you say to him if he were sitting right here?
Don't ask me that. First of all, we would not survive. At $963 on SSI, a missed check is missed rent, missed utilities. You are then going to be in this cascading, trying to make up. Rent goes to court, you've got those court fees. If you even made it with family and friends to help you, you would not survive after that. If he were here in front of me, we would end up with a long conversation. You know, I did not expect
superlatives, I'm
to
sure.
become. No. I did not expect to need my benefits at 37. It was devastating, but I knew there was something in this country that would help me be able to continue to raise children who then themselves needed support. we would have that conversation. I am not a fraudster at all, and neither are the people that I know and serve in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Thank you so much. The 160,000 folks back home in my district that rely on Social Security checks are like you. They're earnest Americans who, if they could work, would have worked, and are living literally paycheck to paycheck. I want to thank all of our witnesses for your stories today and hand it back over to Whip Clark.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Sewell. I want to thank Governor O'Malley for your incredible testimony and the facts that you are bringing around the country. I believe you have another town hall tonight. But my real thanks are to the three of you. Thank you for your courage to come before and tell these stories. If your stories don't make people outraged, we're not paying attention. We're not paying attention. This is the most successful government program we have ever had. And in the richest country on earth, there is no public resource that has done so much for so many. If Elon has his wish and dismantled Social Security today, 22 million people fall into poverty. 22 million people. That's the scale of the threat that we are facing. Without Social Security, as you have brought to life for us, and we thank each and every one of you again, 1 in 3 Americans would end their lives in poverty. And Ms. Brown, as you said, we don't know when disaster strikes. These are not always anticipated events in our lives, and that's exactly why we pay into this system, to help those who find themselves facing the unprecedented, a death of a dad, an illness, a child who needs extra supports. And all of this, our seniors, people with disabilities, children, they are being redefined by this GOP as waste, fraud, and abuse. Waste, fraud, and abuse. But all of you, and we thank you, Mr. Glasgow, for connecting the real human efforts, the people behind Social Security who make this benefit work for people. That's what we're supposed to do in public service, and we appreciate you doing it. Because Ms. Brown put it best. When Social Security's workforce is decimated, when field offices close, when telephones are no longer answered, when you cannot get what you need online, we would not survive. We're going to remember those words. We would not survive. And I don't know if you and your mom would have survived at a time when you lost your dad. Instead, go on to have this amazing career as a nurse. And boy, do we need our nurses at this time as well, but that's a whole nother hearing. So why are we here? Why are they stealing the very benefits that people like you have earned across this country? It's because the Republican Party is no longer working for working people. Instead, they are working for a handful of rich donors, and they are making winners and losers, and that winner circle is getting very, very, very small. And in exchange for $277 million campaign contribution, you get to funnel the money away from the working class, defund the retirement of millions of Americans, and the money they have put in there and earned one working day at a time. And then use that money, your money, to cut the taxes for the top 1%. Once they have broken our system, then they'll intend to privatize it. We see the playbook. And then they sell it off to the highest bidder. It is a huge plot to help the rich get richer while everyone else is left behind. And it just comes down to corruption and greed. I will briefly share a story from a constituent named Susan who came to my office with a very similar tale. For 4 decades, she paid into Social Security. She was confident that benefit she had earned would be there for her in her retirement. Now, she is incredibly worried, terrified about what might be coming. So I'll leave you with her call to action. Susan said, "Do not let these evil villains destroy our precious democracy so they can pay fewer taxes, and keep the rest of us down as a permanent underclass, unhealthy, uneducated, and powerless." I will tell you that your testimony today, we do not feel powerless. We feel empowered to be in this fight with you. And we are going to defend everyone's right, not only to this earned benefit, but to opportunity, to freedom, and certainly to a secure and dignified retirement and a benefit that you earned when Americans need it. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you for being part of this fight with us. And with that, I yield to our co-chair, Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Thank you so much, Whip Clark. And thank you to Sue and Judith and Rennie for sharing your stories and for really helping us put a human face on the impact that these devastating cuts would have. And thank you, Governor O'Malley, really for your tireless work to defend Social Security and protect the 73 million Americans who count on it. Because the stakes couldn't be higher. Trump's acting Social Security commissioner threatens to shut the agency down, and his Commerce Secretary demonstrated just how disconnected the Trump-Musk administration is from real-life Americans by callously stating that Americans wouldn't mind missing a month of benefits. I know there are 5 million Social Security recipients in Florida who call BS on that. We have the highest percentage of Social Security beneficiaries of any state in the country. Democrats are here today and will be here every day to say hell no to these life-threatening attacks. You cannot shut down Social Security. You cannot steal Americans' hard-earned benefits. You cannot close offices, fire workers, leave phone lines unanswered, and make it harder for seniors to get their Social Security checks. These Social Security attacks repulse Americans, yet every Republican is staying silent. They want Trump and Elon Musk to break Social Security, just like 99% of House Republicans who voted to cut Medicaid and food assistance by $1 trillion. Their plan is to steal from hardworking American taxpayers, all so they can give billionaire donors and huge corporations another massive tax break. Once again, I ask my Republican colleagues, whose side are you on? Trump's billionaire donors or the American people? Democrats know our answer. We're on the side of the American people, and we always will be. This hearing stands adjourned, and our fight to save Social Security continues.